With Mario Kart World recently getting a ton of news, people are really excited for its upcoming release, myself included. So many people are talking about this game's characters and tracks and even its price, but one thing people aren't talking a whole lot about are this game's items. The items play a massive role in making sure Mario Kart is the game that it is, and that will be especially true in Mario Kart World, where races will feature double the amount of racers as previous Mario Kart games. So in this video, I want to talk about all the items that we're getting in Mario Kart World. We'll go over all the returning items, including how these past items have been updated, and then we'll talk about this game's brand new items and also the potential for the game to have even more items than what we've already seen. There's a lot to cover here, so let's jump right into it. Hey guys, I'm Thomas from the Switch Stop, and let's start off with the items we already know of. First, let's talk about the returning items that are not only confirmed, but also generally unchanged. The banana peel and triple bananas will both return. It's worth noting that the triple bananas will spin around your cart like in 8 Deluxe, rather than creating a stack behind you like in Mario Kart Wii. The mushroom and triple mushroom will give your cart a boost, and once again, the triple mushrooms will spin around your cart, which means racers can get a boost by bumping into you from any angle if the 3 mushrooms are bouncing around you. Next up, we have the star. The star will give you invincibility and has a slightly new aesthetic and remixed jingle. Oh boy, the boo is also back, and it's also unchanged. It steals an item for you and makes you invisible so that you're unaffected by items and certain obstacles for a few seconds. This new boo design seems to resemble the boos from Super Mario Wonder, and we also see similar looking boos in the track Boo Cinema. The spiny shell still targets first place while being able to hit other racers in its path. Also, this is the only time you'll hear me refer to this as the spiny shell like Nintendo officially does. I'm only ever gonna call it the blue shell moving forward though, because I mean, come on, that's what it's called. The blooper still covers your screen with ink, but said ink actually looks a lot more realistic now. Like, it actually looks like there's ink on your screen rather than just like PNGs of black splotches covering it up. This makes sense given the improved hardware of the Switch 2, and I also wouldn't be surprised if different weather effects like rain, or maybe getting splashed when you're riding on top of bigger waves, washes off the blooper ink in the same way that like using a mushroom would get it off. The bullet bill also returns. I mean, it's been a staple since DS, so I'm not surprised at all. As for the duration, it seems to be about the same. The only thing I think might be changed is that in Mario Kart World, there might be a more complex checkpoint system. In Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, depending on where you used a bullet bill, you could get some absolutely insane broken lines and extensions. I'm looking at you, Cheeseland. However, obviously, we can't verify any changes to the extension system yet. Also, bullet bills seem to no longer cause people to spin out when they get hit by them. Instead, it just bumps them like they're hitting a wall, not like a banana or something. The Mega Mushroom returns from Mario Kart Wii. I mean, it was also in Tour, but this is the first big new game to bring it back. The Mega Mushroom is essentially a star. However, you take up more space and can flatten racers. And lastly, the Super Horn seems untouched. It still hits racers around you, and I'm assuming it can also break blue shells, since that's essentially the entire point of the item. It does have a cool new design though, with more of a multicolored music pattern rather than the pure shockwave that it gave off in 8. Those are all the items that are mostly unchanged. However, they all do have at least one change that is shared by every item in this game. All items are now auto-held, meaning that once you get an item, it is immediately placed behind your cart, and this includes to every item, including the ones we just talked about and the ones we're about to. Even items that don't make sense to hold, like coins, are affected by this. This change was probably implemented for a couple reasons. One, to make it more obvious which items everyone is holding, and also as an effort to prevent item smuggling. Like, perhaps someone can steal every item you have just by simply driving into it. That would be ridiculous. Another change from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is that all of your items will now go away when you fall off the map. This was pretty much the case in every Mario Kart game before Mario Kart 8, and while it's definitely harsher to new players, because they're also the ones most likely to fall off, I understand why they brought this back. With 24 racers, you don't want everyone to constantly have an item, because otherwise the race would be even more chaotic than it already is. But now let's go over a bunch of items that have been changed. The first returning item with a significant change is the coin. The coin item still gives you 2 coins, however now you can hold 20 coins instead of 10. This might seem like a small change, but since coins boost your speed, being able to potentially get twice the advantage you had in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe will definitely be a big shakeup. So yeah, I guess this isn't really a change to the specific item as much as it's just a general gameplay change. However, this item is actually now useful when you have 10 or more coins now. Speaking of coins, the coin box has also received a change. This was like the most broken item in Mario Kart Tour because it would help you extend combos, but thank God combos don't exist anymore because that's just not why people play Mario Kart. I'm sorry. Now the coin box still gives you coins, however the trail it leaves behind is a lot more precise. It will leave 2 coins behind you for each hit until the final hit seems to leave 10 coins behind. Green shells, triple green shells, red shells, and triple red shells are all generally unchanged. However, they get a slight update because of Mario Kart World's new rail mechanic. All shells can now ride rails, and red shells will even take rails in order to track racers in front of you. This is a great change, as rails already seemed kind of a little bit overpowered. So this balances that out because, well, a shell on a rail will hit you because there's nowhere else to go except for off of the rail. The lightning is probably the most affected returning item in Mario Kart World, which again is a very good thing. If it's a global item and can now impact double the amount of people, naturally some changes are in order. Lightning will now only hit racers in front of you, and apparently if you're under some sort of bypass or ceiling, you can dodge the lightning. On top of that, the lightning has a much shorter duration than before. Essentially, the lightning has received a pretty huge nerf. In pretty much every Mario Kart game, the lightning was the most impactful item, and it often felt like entire races revolved around this item, who would get it and when they would use it. If you didn't have a star or boo or some way of dodging a shock on the last lap, you could get absolutely crushed at the end of some races. So seeing that Nintendo has gone out of their way to make this item less important, it will definitely be a major shakeup to Mario Kart's meta, and I'm super excited to see what more competitive or online races will look like. The feather returns as well. In Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, this item was unfortunately only in battle mode. However, in Mario Kart World, you can get this item now in traditional races, which was the case for Super Mario Kart on the SNES. In races, you'll be able to use this item to jump up and reach coin boxes or even take certain shortcuts / get onto rails. However, the coolest thing about this item is that I think it can now be used to dodge blue shells. I haven't seen anyone pull this off, but the Treehouse team did say it was possible, so I'd imagine the timing will be pretty precise. Likely only a couple of frames, similar to how you can use a mushroom to dodge a blue shell in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The Bob-omb returns and does have a slight change. Now, while holding the item behind you, if someone runs into you, they'll explode but you won't. Sometimes in 8 Deluxe, if you weren't going perfectly straight or weren't at your top speed, you would get caught in your own trailed Bob-omb's explosion. Having to time dropping a Bob-omb to break an item was definitely more satisfying since it required actual skill. However, I honestly understand why they changed this for Mario Kart World. Since items are held automatically now, it would really suck if you just so happened to get a Bob-omb and then it exploded before you could even use it. Next, we have the golden mushroom. It seems to have a change in how efficient the use is. What I mean is that the meter you usually have with a golden mushroom seems to be less affected by the spamming of the golden mushroom, timing it to the end of the boost, as the meter is only slightly affected by a spammed boost, and it's more affected by a timed boost. Now for the fire flower. This item gives you less throws than previously. However, it seems like the fireballs are actually larger, so this change sort of balances itself out. The ice flower is an item from Tor that freezes racers temporarily, causing them to slide while having no control. It used to only give you 3 projectiles that would spin around your cart. Now the item no longer spins around your cart, however now you can throw way more of these ice balls, what looks to be the same amount as with the fire flower. The boomerang flower now has a time limit. After you make your first throw, you only have a certain amount of time to make your next 2 throws before the item expires. In Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, on top of having no time limit, throwing this item would actually prioritize your second item, meaning after a throw, you could grab a new item, or the item in your reserve slot would actually come up to your first slot, putting your boomerang in your reserve. Because of this new meter mechanic, both of those features are gone, which honestly just makes sense. And now for the last returning item, we have the hammer from Mario Kart Tour. Using this item would cause you to throw a bunch of hammers, kind of like the fire flower, except the item would be thrown forward in an arc. This item has now been changed for Mario Kart World in that the hammers will now get stuck on the ground temporarily, creating an additional obstacle in the track, which definitely makes this item more viable. Moving on to some of the confirmed new items we know of for this game, we've seen 3 of these so far. The first one is the golden shell. It's a shell that leaves behind a trail of coins before despawning and leaving a bunch of coins bunched up all in one spot. Unlike the blue shell, it doesn't seem to target anyone, so it really just has a set distance, which is nice because this could potentially allow you to get 20 coins just from one use. Another item, which I don't think has a technical name yet, is the Kamek's magic ball item. This causes Kamek to turn racers in front of you into a random Mario enemy, and those enemies will also spawn on the track and cause chaos. People speculate that when this item is used on someone, they then unlock said character if they don't already have them, but I doubt this is the only way characters can be unlocked, especially because it's seemingly random, and we know this game is getting what seems to be a story mode. Lastly, the final item we know of that's already confirmed is food. Originally, we all thought this was just a burger, but it seems like the food you get will depend on the track you're racing on. However, the food always seems to have the same effect, which is honestly a pretty boring one. It gives you a speed boost like a mushroom and also changes your character's costume. Now, I personally think that there's a lot more to this item than it may seem, and I wonder if your outfit will play any role in perhaps your character's stats. That being said, it does seem like this item will help you unlock new skins. However, like with Kamek's magic ball, there will almost definitely be other ways to unlock costumes, and we've already kind of seen this on the map for free roam. So now we've gone over the 28 items that we already know for sure are in this game. 28 items is admittedly a lot, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe only had 23 items even if you do count the feather, which again was battle mode exclusive. However, on top of there being an upcoming direct where we could potentially get more items, this is a game with 24 racers, meaning it makes a lot of sense for this to have the most items out of any Mario Kart game by a pretty significant margin. So with there potentially being more items left to see, let's just go over all the items from past Mario games and decide which ones are the most likely to return. Obviously, I'm excluding the arcade games here because on top of those being unlikely, that would just take way too long since those games had like hundreds of unique items. First up is the Fireball. Super Mario Kart on the SNES had 3 items that only CPUs could use, and the Fireball is just a worse version of the Fire Flower, so it's definitely getting cut. Next is the Yoshi Egg, which also returned in Double Dash. I actually like this item because it's basically a red shell, but when it connects with a racer, it leaves behind additional items, including potential stars. In a game with 24 racers, I like this idea because there's going to be a lot of time where it's hard to compete for an item box, so having a couple items on the track could be pretty cool. In fact, it could return as character-specific items, which I'll talk about in a minute. What I don't think will return is the Poison Mushroom. It's just a mushroom that causes you to shrink when you run into it, and it's never really been an item you could actually use. I don't know, like just screwing some random racers behind you over doesn't seem like a great item in my opinion. The Banana Bunch is from Mario Kart 64, and it's just 5 bananas, or 3 bananas in later games, that get stacked behind you. We already have the triple bananas, so this makes no sense to return. The fake item box wasn't in 7 or 8, and I honestly just never thought it was that great of an item. Again, like with the Poison Mushroom, it just screws over a random racer behind you, and it can't even block items. I'm saying cut here. Birdo's Egg from Double Dash is just a boring reskin of Yoshi's Egg, so again, this will only return if we get character-specific items, which I'll talk about later. Same goes with the Green Fireball. This was Luigi's version of a fireball, and guess what? It was blue. Oh, no, it was green. Damn, I always mess that up. The Giant Banana is just a big banana. It was cool when this was Donkey Kong's item in Double Dash, but it seems a bit redundant here, so I don't really see it returning. Same goes for the Bowser Shell. This was a really funny item, especially on smaller tracks like Baby Park, but I just don't see why it would return. And the Giga Bob-omb from Tor is essentially the same deal. Having just a bigger version of another item feels like a waste of a spot. The Chain Jump was the item exclusive to Baby Mario and Luigi in Double Dash. It just helps bring you back up to some of the higher places, and the Bullet Bill has basically replaced this ever since DS. The Bullet Bill is already in this game, so this should get cut. The Heart was Peach and Daisy's item from Double Dash. I actually like this one. You have 2 hearts that surround your cart, and when an item hits you, the heart tanks the hit while giving you that item. I think with 24 racers, having a few more defensive options, especially when you're going to be in the middle of the pack, makes a lot more sense. So while I don't know how likely this is, I'm saying the item should return. And now for an item I think a lot of people don't want to see return, I'm talking about the Thundercloud. Unfortunately, I actually think the Thundercloud might be the perfect item to bring back. I know a lot of people hate this one, but with 24 racers and a bunch of people crammed together, you would actually have a decent shot at passing this item off. If they did bring it back, maybe it's not automatically used so you can time it, but as controversial as this may be, I'm saying this could return for Mario Kart World. The POW block was cut after only appearing once in Mario Kart Wii, and with this item you could simply shake or dodge out of it when airborne. Considering there is some sort of jumping mechanic in this game where you can charge up a jump and just jump even if you don't have like the feather item, this just seems a bit too complex and that there's too many ways to avoid it. I also don't think it was that interesting of an item in the first place, so I don't see it returning. I'm saying the Super Leaf gets cut mainly because it was cut from 8. During the 3DS, Nintendo went through that whole Tanuki Mario phase, and I think that era is finally over. The Lucky 7 is definitely not returning because, well, this isn't Mario Kart 7, big shocker there. Same goes for the Crazy 8. This isn't Mario Kart 8 or 8 Deluxe, so it's getting removed. The Potted Piranha Plant, as an item, is genuinely one of, if not my most hated items from Mario Kart 8. The fact that it lasts for so long, you can't get rid of it, and it doesn't protect from incoming items behind you, I genuinely think this item hurts me just as often as it helps me, so I see no reason why it should return, especially with Piranha Plant now being a character. Tor's cannons and barrels are essentially just items that let you spam other items, feels very much like a mobile game gimmick, and with 24 racers, these would genuinely ruin the game a lot of the time. That's just too many items. The capsule was an item for the Doctor characters in Tor, and it just throws 3 capsules at once. Doesn't really stand out. It was made specifically for Dr. Mario. I think this gets cut. The Dash Ring is a Tor item which throws rings in front of you that essentially function as a dash panel. I feel like the tracks themselves will implement dash panels in various interesting ways, like these metallic brambles that have their own boost panels if you go under them, so I don't really think we'll see this one. Next, let's talk about the Double Bob-omb. The Double Bob-omb gives you 2 Bob-ombs. Whoa! However, this has been a Wario character-specific item in the past, specifically in like Mario Kart Tour, and we also see Wario holding 2 Bob-ombs in this game's art. Now, this very easily could just be him for the art holding 2 separate Bob-omb items, or it could be a reference to Bob-omb Blast because we haven't seen any battle modes yet. Given that we haven't seen any of this in the demos, I don't really think it's going to return along with the other character-specific items I've mentioned, but seeing Wario hold these 2 Bob-ombs, which again was a character-specific item for him before, is the closest we've seen to any sort of confirmation about character-specific items. I'm leaning towards the fact that there aren't going to be character-specific items in this game, but if there are, then some of the ones I mentioned earlier, including the double ball bombs, will definitely return. And as weird as this may seem to some of you, I think Super Mario 3D World Super Bell will not return. Instead of turning you into a cat, it just functions as 3 super horns, and this is just another item that feels way too redundant to me. And finally, I don't think the bubble returns, because in Tour this was basically just a worse version of the bullet bill. So now, by adding 3 returning items, those being the Yoshi Egg, Heart, and Thundercloud to our original 28, that brings us to 31 items, and to make this a very even 32, let's add one more brand new item to this game. In Mario Kart 7, we got a few new items from 3D Land, and in Mario Kart 8, we got some new items from 3D World. Yes, the potted piranha plant was from 3D World. This time, I want to see a new item from Super Mario Wonder. Now, we've initially suggested the Wonder Flower, but with this game already having evolving tracks, and there already being a very chaotic item through Kamek's thing, I'm starting to think that's off the table. So instead, I want to see Mario Wonder's most iconic power-up, the Elephant Fruit. Unlike the Mega Mushroom, this doesn't crush racers. Instead, it just makes you strong enough to tank hits from various items. However, it could also give you your own trunk, kinda like the Tanuki Leaf, but now you can attack racers in front of you. This could be so interesting too with this game's water mechanics. For instance, perhaps you could scoop up water with your trunk in these water sections, and either use it to have more range attacking racers, or maybe using it on land makes the track more slick, allowing you to go faster. I think just seeing this in Mario Kart World would be so cool, but let me know what items you want to see in Mario Kart World down in the comments section below. Maybe you think we aren't getting any new items at all, but with an entire direct in front of us, we'll just have to wait and see. If you enjoyed this video, we have so many about Mario Kart World, so click the one on screen right now if you're interested. Thank you all for watching, hit the subscribe button if you made it this far and enjoyed the video, and I'll see y'all in the next one.